My official prediction, Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson. Guys, I'm taking Chandler, but hold on, because there's something else being tested here. This is the only fight of the night. This is the only fight of the night where this is not a contest about who wins and who loses. It's about not about knocking somebody out. It's not about controlling them. It's not going to a decision and seeing that you gain favor with the judges. It's really not. Michael Chandler not only must win, and I'm predicting he does, he must absolutely dominate this fight. That is 100% true statement. Now, I think that with his skills, he's likely to do it. I forget that Chandler lost his last fight. I have to remind myself constantly that he lost to Justin Gaethje, right? It was one of those things, and I do bring that up. Because if you get beat, you go into a little bit of a rut, and you start to question yourself just a little bit. Like, there's some stuff that you kind of got to work through. You kind of got to shake off. The training camp's just a little bit different when you're down. Getting to the arena, signing the autographs, usually signing less autographs because you get at, like, everything's just a little bit different. But I don't know that that rule pertains to Chandler because the performance was so damn epic. Like, I had a coach, and he wasn't the coach that just always tried to lift everybody up. But he did make a very fair point when I was a kid that sometimes you don't lose. Sometimes you just have less points when time runs out. That is 100% what happened to Chandler in his fight with Gaethje. Like, there was no loser there. There was two absolute studs. Now, I only bring that to you. Because Tony is playing a different game. Tony Ferguson does not have to get his hand raised. As a matter of fact, let me just lay out a scenario for you. Tony Ferguson goes and gets his ass kicked for 10 minutes and lands a finish. Whether it's something on the jaw and he knocks him out, he throws up a triangle and he taps him out. If he gets his ass kicked for the duration of the fight, regardless of the outcome, Tony's going to fail the test. Right? Everybody's getting tested. Particularly the veterans. The newer and the younger guys, it's a completely different litmus test. Can I look good? Can I be exciting? Can I get a pat on the back from Sean Shelby on my way out the door? Will Dana know what my name is when I leave? Do I get a fight next time? Do I get a move from jerking the curtain closer to a main card? Like, there's a different test. But when you're an established veteran, you're a spot of Tony, which is extremely unique, which is you go from the best in the world. Tony Ferguson was planned, it ended up falling apart, to headline Madison Square Garden against Khabib, and it would have absolutely sold out. In all fairness, Tony had such a special point in his career. He hasn't just not only won a fight in a period of time, he hasn't won a round. Now, this is not a kick Tony session. I don't bring that up to open an old wound. I bring it up so that we can be very clear. If Tony goes out there and he wins a round, he's done a good job. In the fights that Tony lost as of recent, in fact, let me be very specific. Benny DeRouche and Charles Oliveira. Tony was losing the takedown game. That was a huge surprise. We didn't know that people could just go take Tony down, right? I'm going back to the Oliveira fight, but we also didn't know that Oliveira even had that takedown. Like, it was a surprise. Oh, wow, I'm surprised that happened. And then Tony's ability to scramble was also taken away in both of those fights, which was a little bit of a surprise. Like, oh, what happened here? Haven't seen that before from Ferguson. Now, Ferguson acknowledges that. I read an interview this morning by Tony Ferguson, and he brought back his old wrestling coach, who he had in college. I should remind you, Tony Ferguson was a national champion in college. If you guys don't know what the junior college national championship is about, it's the same title that Dan Henderson held. It's the same title that Chris Weidman held. It's the same title that Jon Jones held. It's the same title that Curtis Blades held. I could go on and on. It's very hard to do. You got to be very good at wrestling. Tony won it. Now, I'm only bringing that to you because he was getting taken down. That was a little bit of a surprise. So when we're looking at Tony and we're judging him, he's safe. Dana White said as much. Dana White was talking about Cowboy versus Lazon. He said, yeah, this is a loser leave town match. One of them is going to be making their last time to the octagon. But then he also weighed in on this fight specifically, said, no, that's not at all what's on the line. Don't even think you have to bring up their records to me. Don't think you have to tell me how many they've lost in a row. They've only fought absolute studs. They fight their heart out every time. No, of course, they're both top 10 guys. They're going to remain top 10 guys, and they're completely safe. Okay, fine, but there's still something at stake here. It is important that Tony can show us, the audience, that he can fix some of those deficits, specifically grappling. And at no point in Tony's career has that ever been discussed? He has no deficits in grappling. Many people thought he was going to be the guy to stop Khabib because he was so tricky with the elbows from his back, because he could throw up a submission. You guys remember this narrative. So when Tony got taken down, it was a surprise. But when I talk about it being a surprise, if it was a surprise to us, that means it was a surprise to Tony. So you give him a little bit of a pass. None of us knew Charles Oliveira was as good at the takedowns as he turned out to do against Tony. Well, if we didn't know, then Tony didn't. So you give him a little bit of a pass. Okay, you weren't expecting that. We weren't. We weren't prepared for it. One of those things, rinse and repeat. You go do that for a few rounds, you get up, and the judges raise the other guy's hand. Still got to solve the problem. And Tony has absolutely acknowledged that there's a problem. He's acknowledged that he's trained and brought his old coach back in. He's acknowledged that he's trained. He's going to switch things up. Now, when you talk about wrestling, guys, you don't have to be great. You absolutely do not have to be great at all facets of wrestling. There's only two in the sport of MMA. You got to master one of them. I believe, just by example, the greatest offensive wrestler our sport has ever seen is Georges St. Pierre. I believe the greatest defensive wrestler that our sport has ever seen is Jose Aldo. You could be a national champion, you could be All-American, you could be Chad Mendez. Jose Aldo pop his hips in and knock you right back, not get taken down. Now, I only bring that to you because what part of it is Tony working on? If Tony thinks within a training camp he can sharpen his wrestling enough to go out and take Michael Chandler down, we just wasted our time. If Tony brought in his coach and worked on wrestling specifically to not be taken down, yeah, he could fix that. He could. He absolutely could. And now you're talking about a stand-up battle between Tony and Chandler. You're talking about Tony, who's very diverse, who's going to throw punches and bunches. You're talking about Michael Chandler, who's going to hit you harder than hell. Are you tough enough to stand there and take it? It turns into a very different fight. All predicated on the notion brought to us by Tony himself that he needs to change the way that he wrestles. And I'm bringing you guys a very good point. If any of you are young fighters and you're out there and you want to go work on your wrestling, if you're spending 50% of your time on offense and 50% on your defense, stop. Pick one and put 100% of your time on it. Either be really good at taking somebody off their feet or be really good at not getting taken off your feet. If you get one of those down in wrestling, as far as it pertains to MMA, it's enough. It's enough. Stop right there. Don't waste your time drilling offense and then drilling defense. Just pick one. Be able to do it against anybody. Now, these are the tests that Tony's going to have. There's probably been a number of fighters who haven't won a fight in a period of time. There's probably been a number of fighters who, in not winning those fights, also did not win a round of those fights in a period of time. But there's only one that the media selected to put a spotlight on, and it's Tony. So now that becomes Tony's reality. All of us are now aware of it. I never would have connected those dots. I would have just thought, well, Tony hasn't won a fight since. Fill in the blank. Somebody within the media brought up he hasn't won a round, that he's lost 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 rounds. He's lost his last 11. That's relevant. I mean, if the media does that to you, and all of a sudden they're looking at it, the other side of the coin, if you want to be fair, is you just win one. Right? You got 3 rounds. You got 3 opportunities. If you could just grab one, you've done better. So it's a different test that Tony's against. We don't want to see anybody, including our heroes like Tony Ferguson, violate the number one rule of this game, which is protect yourself at all times. But it has been 11 rounds since we've seen him protect himself. It's one of those things. It's a very tough spot. And you can look at it from a negative standpoint, or you can look at it in the way that I'm at least intending to make it sound, which is a real positive, that we don't have the same pressures on Tony out here. He wants to go out there. He wants to get victory. That would be a very glorious moment. Not very many men alive can get the jump on Michael Chandler. I'm just not putting that on Tony. I'm not. I think there will be other things to celebrate if he takes Chandler down, and I mean even one time, if he stops Chandler's takedown and keeps it in the stand-up, even if he loses that battle, there will be something there to celebrate. There'll be something there to hang your hat on. But we're going to need to see it. We've changed up the training. Feels great. I can attest for you personally, because I saw it. It might have been years ago, but he works hard and he's always in shape. Just the question is, did Father Time catch you or not? The past 11 rounds say it might have. Those were pretty damn good competition, which is what Dana White spoke to. No threat here of having a career lost. But the fight has to be about something. And why the 10 other bouts on this card are about victory and or defeat, I don't see it this way. I don't see it this way for Tony. I think he can have small victories within this fight. I think that those can be recognized and celebrated, but he's got to go out and do it. And that's the nicest I can say it.